Hey guys, welcome to another one of my live streams. Thank you so much for coming. Today we're going to be reading The Quiet Room, chapter 23 from my third full-length novel, Saving Destiny. This one has not been published yet. But a quick update about my book, Was I Ever Normal, that was published, my second book to be published, on August 12th, 2022. It is now available in all Barnes & Noble stores across the country. And if they don't have it in stock, you can ask them to order it at customer service. Just let them know you're looking for Was I Ever Normal by Becca Pava, Becca. The Barnes, if you're local to me, I'm in Pittsfield, Mass. If you're local to me in Pittsfield, Mass, then the Barnes & Nobles on Hubbard Ave, 555 Hubbard Ave, carries my book in stock. It's also available at Books A Million stores across the country. Same deal. If you are local to me, the bookshop in Lenox carries my book, and so does the Book Loft in Great Barrington. I will also be doing a book signing at the Book Loft on October 21st. You can also buy the book on Amazon, either as a paperback or as a Kindle. But back to Saving Destiny. When we last left her, she had just arrived home from a psych hospital visit. Hi, Vivian. She had just arrived home from a psych hospital visit and found out that she was maxed out on consequence time. As soon as she walked into the doors of Sharon House, Sam C. greeted her with a malicious grin. She knew things were about to change. We will begin reading here. Destiny's perspective. You're capable of being a level 3 kid, Sam C. kept telling me. He loved to tell me about how much I was capable of and how I was always sabotaging myself. Those are hard things to hear when you know you're trying to do everything you can to follow the rules people give you. For my first few days back at the Jackson Center, I was on special protocol. But because that's when you have a one-to-one. But because I was still on level 1, I was pretty much always supervised anyway. If I was acting in a way that made staff feel I was going to be unsafe, I would be told to go over to the quiet room. It was that quiet room in the other building, that empty room that was painted light mint green and totally empty, except with no door to the room, just an empty doorway with a chair in it. Staff would sit in the chair and stop me from leaving if I tried. The quiet room had one window on it that was covered with the same heavy wire mesh found on hospital windows. The first time staff banished me there, I would have to spend 30 minutes in the room. That, they would allow me to have my music, a journal, a book, the weighted blanket, or the bouncy ball. The big bouncy ball. They would not let me have Blinky with me, which is what would have helped me the most. If I refused to walk over to the quiet room, I would be escorted there. That meant that one staff would pick me up, another staff would hold my tube feeding backpack, and they would carry me over there, kicking and screaming. And if that happened, I would have to spend at least an hour in there. While I was in the quiet room, staff were not allowed to interact with me. Instead, they would hand me a laminated card. This is what the card would say. We understand you are suffering a lot now, and we care about you, but we will not interact with you until your behavior becomes under control and you finish your quiet room time. I hated that damn card. It made me so mad. If it hadn't been laminated, I would have ripped the thing to shreds. They didn't understand. They didn't even begin to understand. I hated the way I would try to make eye contact, something that was hard for me to do, and they would look away. I felt so abandoned. The plan got even worse. If being in the quiet room got too overwhelming for me, and I tried to run out, I would get grabbed and carried back in. Then I would have another half an hour added into my incarceration time. If I ran out a second time, I would have an additional hour added on. If it happened the third time, I would have 2 hours added on and be maxed out. It got to the point that I had practically moved into the quiet room. I would alternate between wildly bouncing on the big red bouncy ball, trying to escape the nightmarish room, getting restrained multiple times, and getting a PRN of Haldol injected through my J-tube. Even though I promised I would ask for the Haldol PRN as soon as the voices started, I was terrified to let the nurses give it to me. Because the bad man and the storyteller would start whispering threats as soon as I began even thinking of asking for it. After hours and hours of restraints, running out of the quiet room and being carried back in, and unsuccessful attempts to try and distract myself with something else, my emotions would be backed up like traffic in Boston or New York City. The night usually ended with my nighttime meds through my J-tube. Then I would still be stuck in the quiet room, cut off from any human connection, but I would wrap myself up with the weighted blanket and finally fall into an uneasy sleep. Staff would eventually wake me up at around 10:30 p.m. at night for shift change. They would walk me back to the house to go to bed. I had lost any hope of getting off level 1. I constantly had consequence time that I couldn't work off because I was always either in the quiet room or earning more time. Staff had pretty much permanently taken away my shoes, and I was always wearing the pink slippers that were getting as beat up as I felt. Overall, the main emotion permeating every waking moment was a sense of hopelessness. My parents came to visit, and I loved seeing them. But it hurt so bad when they had to go home and leave me behind. I was back on my medications, but I knew they weren't working the way they should. I was still hearing the bad man and the storyteller almost constantly. Sometimes it got so bad that it was hard to even talk. I met with Eliza every week by myself and once a week with my family. I liked Eliza. I really did. But she didn't seem to understand how hard I was trying. Everyone at the program had this idea that if I just tried harder to be in control, then everything would be better. They also didn't seem to understand that cutting me off from interaction with the right reality just made my hallucinations all the more real and confused me even more, which set off my behaviors even more. I could never find a way to calm down with all the new rules. It was just a setup for me to fail. Staff continued to tell me that I could do better. It took so much control to get through my day without doing something that would immediately end my life. They just didn't get it. I was always doing damage control. The bad man would tell me to bash my head through a glass window. I would bash it on the wall instead. The bad man would tell me to run away from the program. I would just run outside of the school building instead. I really didn't want to hurt myself. Not at all. But the staff didn't understand that when I tried to explain it to them. Most of the time, staff weren't speaking to me anyways. Most of the time, they were following the stupid protocol and silently handing me that laminated card. Every day that I survived was a silent victory. It started off with a familiar scenario. You're starting to get revved up. You need to go to the quiet room. Sam G's tone was calm, but his voice sounded tired. Grab the weighted blanket if you want it. I grabbed the weighted blanket and wrapped it around my shoulders like a cape. The weight felt reassuring and calming. At the moment, I had nothing planned, but as I walked across the street, past the boys' house, the bad man got louder. Did you see that fire escape? It leads to the roof. The roof leads to flight. Flight leads to freedom. You can fly away from this mess. You can be free. I couldn't help but let my gaze rest upon the fire escape. It led up pretty high. Climb the escape and you will escape. You will be free. You will be better. The bad man's tone was excited and was starting to rub off on me a little bit. She will fly off into the night and melt away the pain, the storyteller sang out. Suddenly, I knew from a deep down place that I knew how to fly. That if I jumped off the roof of the boys' house, I would take off into the night and everything would be better. I continued walking along with Sam G, but I slowed down my pace. I needed to think a little, but my brain refused to focus. Go for it, urged the bad man. Fly, 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 shrieked the storyteller. This gut feeling deep inside me kept telling me that I could fly. I could fix everything. Fly, 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 the storyteller continued to yell. I dropped the weighted blanket. I made a mad dash toward the fire escape. I heard Sam G's footsteps running behind me. The thumping sound they made reverberated inside my head and urged me to run faster. With an energy I didn't know existed, I didn't know I had, I bolted up the steps of the fire escape. Once I got to the place the fire escape ended, I crawled on my hands and knees up the slope of the roof of the 3-story Victorian house. Then, 3 stories above the ground, I looked down, filled with this incredible sense of power. I felt like I could do anything, like I was Supergirl. I stood up on top of the roof. I was swaying a little, and it was hard to balance, but it didn't matter. I knew if I fell, I would just fly, and then everything would be fixed. A smile stretched across my face. It was perfect up there on the roof. I looked down. Sam G and Kara were standing at the bottom. Sam G was on his phone. "You don't think I can fly, do you?" I called down as a challenge. "I can and I will," I told them. I was getting ready to fly, but I loved the feeling of power I had up there on the roof, where no one could touch me. No one could put me in a restraint or lock me up somewhere or hand me a laminated card saying they weren't going to interact with me. It was starting to rain, and dark droplets were splattering in my hair. I thought to myself that flying in the rain would feel kind of like swimming. I stretched my arms above my head and caught the raindrops in my mouth. Soon I would just step off the edge and take flight. Soon everything would be better. Soon everything that had gone wrong in my life would be fixed. I knew this with complete certainty, that I felt all the way down to my toes. "Destiny," a voice broke through my euphoria. I looked down to where the voice was coming from. It was Nathan, one of the really cool staff from the boys' house that I loved because he was always lots of fun. He had climbed up the fire escape and was standing at the top step of the point where the fire escape met the slope of the roof. "Come down, Destiny," he urged me. "No, I can't. I need to fly," I insisted. Just then, I heard sirens piercing the night. A fire truck, several police cars, and an ambulance were all pulling up. "Destiny, this isn't the answer," he told me. "No, it is. It's the ultimate answer. It is," I insisted. "Can we just talk for a minute?" Nathan asked, his tone calm and even. "If you don't talk to me, the firefighters are going to go up there." "Okay, just talk," I told him. "Why don't you come down a little bit then?" urged Nathan. "If I come down, you'll grab me though," I countered. "No, I just want to talk," insisted Nathan in his hypnotic voice. The rain was intensifying and was pouring down. "Let him feel like he tried," the bad man told me. I decided I would give Nathan what he wanted and talk to him for a minute and then go back up and fly. I sat down on my butt and scooted down the slippery wet roof. "Keep coming, careful," Nathan urged me. As soon as I got close to the top of the fire escape, Nathan latched onto my leg tightly and would not let go. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't struggle against him. He didn't know how to fly, and I didn't want to get him hurt. Nathan pulled me closer to him, scooped me up in his arms, and carried me, fireman style, back down the fire escape. "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry," I continued to call out to the bad man and the storyteller. But there was nothing else I could do. Nathan put me down on the stretcher in the back of the ambulance. "What was that about?" one of the paramedics asked me. "There were too many voices," I tried to explain weakly. Talking was too hard. Does she have schizophrenia? The paramedic was asking staff. No, she just claims that she hears voices, Kara answered. Claimed. That word burned, but the bad man and the storyteller were so loud that I couldn't focus on the burn for long. If you stay calm, we won't put restraints on you, the paramedic promised me. I just nodded. My clothes were all wet and dirty from the roof in the rain. I shivered slightly. Kara got in the ambulance with me. At the hospital, they had me changed into a hospital gown and put my soaking wet and dirty clothes in one of those patient plastic belonging bags. A crisis worker came and spoke with me very briefly. She had probably already decided that I would need hospitalization before even meeting me. After all, I had just spent 20 minutes standing on a rooftop 3 stories in the air. Kara stayed with me most of the time in the emergency room, as well as a big burly security guard. They tried to joke around with me and help me stay calm, but my thoughts were racing a mile a minute. They found you a bed in the hospital, Kara informed me at around 11 p.m. after speaking with the crisis worker. I'm going to get going now. This nice security card will keep you company. The ambulance should be coming to take you to the hospital in the next few hours. Kara gave me an awkward hug over the railings of the gurney I was laying in. The bars on the side of the gurney dug into me, but I didn't care. Call us tomorrow morning, she told me. I nodded. I didn't want to let go of Kara, but she had to pull away. It was already past the time that her shift was over. Mom's perspective. It had come to the point that any time the phone rang after 9 or so, we assumed it was about Destiny, and we assumed the worst. So when the phone rang at 9:15 p.m., we had a quick, unspoken conversation that resulted in me answering the phone. This is Sam G. from the Jackson Center. I'm calling because Destiny had to be taken to the hospital. She's in the emergency room there. What happened? I asked, and then braced myself. She climbed on the roof and tried to jump off. Sam G's tone was apologetic. She's okay. We got her down, and she's safe now. But it was very serious. What happened? Asked Alan after I hung up the phone. She tried to jump off the roof, I told him. I feel like she just keeps upping the ante, Alan sighed. I'm scared one of these times it's going to be all, his voice broke, all over. Sam G called a couple hours later to let us know that she had a bed in the hospital and that I could sign her in the morning. The next morning, I called the hospital on the way there and spoke to the nurse manager. Hi, my name is Bonnie Higgins. I'm Destiny's mom. She was just admitted. I'm on the way up to sign her in, and I just wanted to ensure that I could visit with her when I get there, because it's an hour and a half drive up there. That should be fine, the nurse manager assured me. I was learning how to navigate the ropes of the mental health world. That's the end of that chapter. I'm so glad you're enjoying Was I Ever Normal. Oh, you finished reading it, Elaine? That's awesome. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. What did you guys think of this chapter? Anyone? It really shows the truth of the Jackson Center in this one. Alright, well, I think I'll end here. This is based on my experience. That's a truth. The whole thing happened to me. This whole entire thing happened to me. This book is really closely based on my experience. The whole book. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I still remember it. It gets even crazier. So the bad man is called Kaida Nodena for me. I made him into one person for into two people for Destiny. It is difficult to get a clear diagnosis, but Destiny's diagnosis is definitely schizoaffective disorder. The Jackson Center just misdiagnosed her. Well, I'm going to close for now. I'm glad you guys enjoyed this. I'm so glad you enjoyed my live stream. Be on the lookout for the next chapter of Saving Destiny. No, next I'm going to be doing Was I Ever Normal, and then I'll do another Saving Destiny. Was I Ever Normal will be in about 2.5 weeks. Very edgy, yeah, definitely very edgy, yeah, definitely. I keep reading Was I Ever Normal on here because some people have trouble reading or they have bad vision. It is terrifying, yeah. It really is. Normal is less based on my life story. It's more based on a combination of stories of different kids I met on the psych unit. But this one, Saving Destiny, is more closely based on my story. Well, I'll sign off for now. Love all you guys. See you soon. Bye.